The sky burned red over the ruins of Kryn 7, a human colony on the edge of explored space. Smoke curled from shattered buildings, and the air was thick with ash and the stench of burnt metal. Captain Daniel Harper stood at the edge of a crater, staring down at the wreckage below. His heart thumped, not from fear but from the weight of a choice he had just made. "Captain," said Lieutenant Mara Voss, her voice tense, "we need to move. The alien patrols will be back any minute." Daniel didn't turn. His gaze was fixed on a small, trembling figure trapped beneath a fallen beam. It was an alien child no more than 7 standard years old. Her skin was pale lavender and her large golden eyes stared at him with raw fear. She was one of Queen Verelia's children, the royal bloodline of the alien empire they had been fighting for decades. "Leave her," Mara whispered, her tone sharp with disbelief. "She's the enemy. We cannot risk it." Daniel finally looked at her. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with quiet resolve. "Mara, she's a child, innocent. We cannot let her die because of her mother's wars." "But Captain," Mara began, but Daniel had already moved. He jumped down into the crater, landing with a grunt. Smoke and debris filled his lungs, but he ignored it. Carefully, he lifted the beam, pinching the child's arm. The alien child whimpered, a sound that pierced Daniel's chest. She was so small, so fragile, and yet somehow she radiated a quiet strength even in fear. "I've got you," he said softly, brushing her hair back from her face. "You're safe now." The child blinked at him, confusion and fear mingling in her golden eyes. She tried to pull away, but Daniel held her gently. "I won't hurt you," he whispered. "I promise." Above, Mara called down urgently, "Captain, they're returning." "We don't have time." Daniel glanced skyward. Sure enough, a squadron of alien fighter drones streaked across the crimson sky. The hum of their engines grew louder, a relentless reminder that staying was not an option. But Daniel's focus didn't waver. He lifted the child carefully and ran toward the wrecked transport ship. The ship's hull was scorched, but its engines were still functional. Daniel pushed open the hatch and Mara helped him lift the child inside. The little girl trembled in his arms, curling against him instinctively. "Name?" Daniel asked gently as he secured her in a seat. Lyra, she whispered. Her voice was melodic but fragile. Daniel nodded. "Lyra, we're going to take you somewhere safe. Can you do that?" Lyra didn't answer. She only clutched his jacket tightly. Mara finally sighed, frustration and awe mixing in her expression. "Captain, you realize what you're doing? If Queen Verelia finds out—" "I know," Daniel said quietly. "I also know that if we leave her here, she dies. That's not something I can allow. Not ever." The ship shuddered as Daniel powered the engines. Outside, the alien drones swooped closer, scanning for their prey. Daniel's hands moved over the controls with practiced ease, weaving the damaged ship through craters and fallen towers, dodging debris and enemy fire. Lyra's eyes widened at the motion, and for the first time, she spoke a few words in her native tongue. "A human, save?" "Yes," Daniel said with a small smile. "I'm saving you." The journey through the burning planet was treacherous. Explosions rocked the ship and shrapnel tore through the air. Daniel's fingers flew over the controls, calculating every maneuver. Every human instinct he had honed through years of combat now focused on one purpose: keeping Lyra alive. Hours passed like minutes. Finally, the surface of Kryn 7 fell away beneath them, and the black void of space welcomed them. Daniel exhaled for the first time. The child in his arms stirred, tilting her head to look at him. "You're human?" she asked hesitantly. "I am," he said softly, "and I'm here to protect you." Lyra's eyes shimmered, a strange mix of awe and disbelief. Daniel could feel it, a silent recognition, like her alien mind sensed something in him that she couldn't fully understand yet. Mara looked at Daniel, shaking her head. "You're insane. The Queen will hunt us across the stars. You've just made the war personal." Daniel didn't answer. He only held Lyra closer. As they entered the safer regions of space, the ship's communication system crackled. A voice, powerful and commanding, filled the cabin. It was Queen Verelia speaking directly to them. Captain Daniel Harper. Her voice echoed, cold and regal. "You have taken what belongs to me. Return my daughter or face consequences beyond your comprehension." Daniel set his jaw. "Lyra is safe with me. She will not return to you while she is in danger. I will not let harm come to a child." There was a pause. Then the Queen's voice, softer but still dangerous, said, "You are unusual, human. I will watch you. Do not underestimate me." The connection cut off. Lyra peeked up at Daniel, her small hand resting on his chest. "She angry?" "Yes," he admitted. "But right now she cannot touch you. Not while I am here." For the first time, Lyra smiled faintly, a small gesture of trust. Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest. Despite the danger, despite the unknown challenges ahead, he knew he had made the right choice. But safety was temporary. The humans and aliens were at war, and one act of compassion could change the balance of power, or ignite a new conflict. Daniel stared out into the endless stars, wondering how far the Queen would go to reclaim her child. Hours later, Daniel finally allowed himself a brief moment of rest. Lyra slept in his arms, exhausted from the trauma and the long escape. He thought of the reports he had read before the mission. Queen Virelia was merciless, cunning, and powerful beyond imagination. Most humans feared even hearing her name, yet here he was, carrying her daughter across the stars, alive and unharmed. And he felt a strange certainty. Human courage and morality could withstand even the mightiest adversary. Mara leaned back in her chair, sighing. I can't believe you did this. You've put all of us in danger." Daniel glanced at her. "Maybe, but it's not just about danger, Mara. It's about what we are willing to fight for. Not for territory, not for victory, but for life, for innocence. That is what makes us human." Mara didn't respond, but Daniel didn't need her approval. He had made his choice. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Daniel knew the journey ahead would test every skill, every value, every part of his humanity. Lyra stirred again, blinking up at him. "Human, protect? I will always protect you," Daniel said, smiling. "No matter what." Outside the ship, in the dark expanse of space, the alien drones still searched. But for now, Daniel had achieved the impossible. He had saved a child. And in that act, he had reminded himself, and perhaps the universe, what it meant to be human. The journey had only begun. The Queen's wrath, the alien empire, and the uncertain future awaited. But for the first time in days, Daniel Harper allowed himself to hope. Because sometimes, courage and compassion were more powerful than any weapon, and this time it was humanity that held the greatest weapon of all, the strength to do what was right. The stars stretched endlessly outside the ship's reinforced viewport. A cold, indifferent universe watching over Daniel Harper and the alien child, Lyra. The hum of the engines was the only sound in the cabin, punctuated by Lyra's quiet breathing as she slept in Daniel's arms. But peace was temporary. Daniel knew the moment they had crossed into open space, the Queen's gaze had followed them. He felt it, not physically, but somehow through the child. Lyra's alien senses were alert even in sleep, twitching slightly as if responding to something invisible. Lieutenant Mara Voss paced the cabin, her boots clicking against the metal floor. Her eyes darted to the instruments, then to Daniel. "Captain, you realize this isn't just a warning," she said sharply. "Queen Virelia doesn't make idle threats. She's dangerous. Entire fleets obey her instantly. You've put us on her radar. She will hunt us personally." Daniel didn't look up. He adjusted Lyra in his arms, letting her lean against him comfortably. "I know," he said calmly. "And that's why we need to stay focused. We can't fight her. Not directly, but we can protect Lyra. That's what matters." Mara stopped pacing and let out a frustrated sigh. "Captain, you're not just protecting her. You've made her curious about you. You think she's watching, but she's more than that. She's studying you. The Queen does not forgive. She does not forget. And she does not tolerate defiance." Daniel met her gaze with steady eyes. "Maybe, but she also doesn't understand humanity yet. And she's about to learn something important." Lyra stirred again, eyes fluttering open. Her golden gaze locked onto Daniel's face. "Safe, human?" she asked, her voice trembling but clear. "Yes," Daniel said softly. "You're safe with me. No one can hurt you while I'm here." She hesitated, then reached up, placing her small hand against his cheek. There was a strange warmth in the touch, almost electric, that made Daniel shiver. Mara noticed it too and frowned. "That's unusual," Mara whispered. "She's reacting to you. That's not normal for her kind." Daniel only nodded. "She trusts me. That's what matters right now." The calm was shattered by a sudden flash across the viewport. A massive alien ship materialized from hyperspace, its sleek black hull gleaming under the light of nearby stars. Daniel's heart tightened. There was no mistaking it. The Queen had arrived personally. The ship's systems locked onto them instantly, sending a communication signal. The cabin lights flickered as a holographic image filled the center of the room. Queen Viralia. Her presence was overwhelming. She was tall, regal, and terrifying. Her lavender skin shimmered faintly, her golden eyes glowing with intensity. She regarded Daniel with a mixture of curiosity and cold calculation. "Captain Daniel Harper," she said, her voice resonant and commanding. "You have taken what belongs to me. Return my daughter, or prepare to face consequences beyond your imagination." Daniel straightened in his seat, holding Lyra protectively. "She is a child. She is innocent. I will not return her to harm. I will not let her die." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Innocent?" she repeated. "A child born of war and royal blood cannot be innocent. She is mine, and now, because of you, she is endangered." Lyra shrank slightly in Daniel's arms, sensing the tension. Daniel held her tighter. "She is under my protection. That is all you need to know." The Queen studied him silently, and Daniel felt the weight of her gaze. Then, unexpectedly, she spoke softer, almost intrigued. "You are unusual human. Most of your kind would have left the child to die or destroyed her to prevent future threats. But you protect, you risk yourself for what is right. Why?" Daniel met her gaze steadily. "Because that is who we are. That is what humanity does. We protect life when we can. Not for glory, not for gain, but because it is right." The Queen regarded him for a long moment, her golden eyes flickering with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. "I will watch you, Captain. You are different from what I expected. Do not underestimate me." And then the hologram vanished. The alien flagship disappeared into hyperspace as quickly as it had arrived, leaving the human ship alone in the void. Mara exhaled sharply. "You've made her personal, Daniel. She's not just angry, she's intrigued. And that's worse. Intrigued means she wants you, personally." Daniel rubbed his temples. "I'm aware. But Lyra is safe. That's all that matters. Everything else, we'll handle as it comes." Lyra tilted her head, eyes studying Daniel with a mix of curiosity and wonder. "Human, brave," she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. "Bravery isn't about not feeling fear. It's about doing what's right, even when you're afraid." Lyra's small hand touched his arm again, a silent gesture of trust. Daniel felt a warmth spread through him. In that moment, he realized something important. This child was not just a responsibility. She was a bridge between two worlds, humanity and the alien empire, and how he treated her could change everything. Over the next few hours, Daniel piloted the ship carefully, keeping them in uncharted space to avoid alien patrols. He let Mara handle communications and navigation while he focused on Lyra, making her feel safe and comfortable. "Captain," Mara said cautiously, "you know the Queen won't stop. She will send hunters. She will send fleets. And if you refuse again, she may come herself." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we need to be ready. But not just with weapons, with wit, with strategy, and with humanity. That's our advantage. Not firepower, not technology. Humanity itself." Mara shook her head, half in disbelief and half in awe. "You really believe she will respect that?" Daniel glanced at the child, whose eyes were now alert and studying him. "She already does. I can feel it. And if I can show her that humans are not just warriors, not just conquerors, but protectors, then maybe there's a chance for something greater." Lyra spoke again, her voice soft but confident. "Human, smart," Daniel chuckled. "I try, but you're smarter than you think. You helped me already. You saved me in ways you don't even understand." Lyra's golden eyes widened. "Saved human?" "Yes," Daniel said, smiling. "Sometimes saving someone isn't just about strength. It's about trust and hope and courage. And you've shown all of those." Mara watched silently, her expression unreadable. She knew Daniel was right. This was not just a rescue. This was a lesson. For the Queen, for Lyra, and even for humanity itself. As they traveled, Daniel and Lyra formed a quiet bond. She mimicked some of his words, trying to speak his language, while he learned bits of her tongue. Communication was slow, but their connection deepened. Daniel realized that this child, royal or not, saw him as her protector, her guide, and somehow her friend. Hours turned into days, and the Queen's presence loomed like a shadow in their minds. Then, one evening, while Daniel charted a new course through an asteroid belt, the communication system crackled again. The holographic image flickered to life, and Queen Virelia appeared, closer this time, as if she had jumped through space to confront him personally. "Captain Harper," she said, her voice both commanding and almost fascinated, "you have survived longer than I expected, and yet you still refuse. Why?" Daniel held Lyra in his lap, looking the Queen in the eyes. "Because she is a child. Because she deserves life. Because humanity stands for something more than conquest and fear. That is why." The Queen studied him silently, her expression unreadable. Then unexpectedly she said, "Very well. I will give you this chance. To prove that your humanity is as strong as you claim. Keep her safe if you can. But know this, I am watching. Every step, every decision, and I will not forget anything you do." The connection ended, leaving the cabin in silence once more. Daniel exhaled slowly, looking at Lyra. She smiled faintly, a small glimmer of hope in her golden eyes. "You see," he said softly, "you're safe for now, but the journey is far from over." Lyra nodded slightly, her small hand reaching up to touch his arm. Daniel felt an unspoken understanding between them. They were bound together now, not just by circumstance but by trust, courage, and the promise of protection. Outside, the stars shimmered coldly, indifferent to their struggle. But inside that small ship, humanity's greatest strength, compassion, courage, and moral conviction glowed brighter than any star. And Daniel Harper knew deep down that the Queen's interest was no longer just about her child. It was about him, and whatever came next, he would face it with the same determination he had shown on the burning world of Kryn 7. Because being human was not about weapons or strength. It was about doing what was right, even when the universe seemed against you.